Hey everybody. Wow. Here it is. Wow. I can't sit like I thought. It's Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Okay. I wanted to come out here this summer. I don't know if you can see it, but this tree here with the branches, that's got a rope tied to it. This is where a lot of crazy youth come out and swing on the rope, and not crazy. It's good, clean fun, right? But when I wanted to be here in July, and it was too crowded. Everybody was jumping off the rope. In fact, where I did it from, a bluff up there, now that's crowded because everybody's climbing up a sandstone bluff here at Mount Simon. So let's see what we got here. I always say it's going to be a little short. I got a bunch of items, but I don't have a lot of stamina. I got some food poisoning. My goal was I would spend this day Mass and then work at the office, do the chat, and then head over to Wausau and have dinner with my brother and my mom. And boy, I didn't sleep much last night because I don't mean to be begging for sympathy, but if you got it, I'll take it. Anyway, so that's an excuse if I look a little glassy-eyed or not straight thinking. Just not feeling the best. But on the mend, I think. I drank a lot of, I didn't have any Gatorade or anything, electrolyte stuff, so I thought, hey, wait a minute. I have Alka-Seltzers for bikers. They're like these little tablets you put in your water bottle when you're bicycling, and it's full of electrolytes and all kind of stuff. So I just had a big stadium glass full of those, full of mango-flavored electrolyte fluid. So I was glad I saw that. This should get me on the mend, right? So, a few things. I want to start right away. We had a really nice, meaningful Thanksgiving service last night with our friends from Good Shepherd Lutheran Church, which is just like 3-4 blocks away from St. James, but kind of tucked away. Pastor Josh came to our 75th anniversary program and spoke about how he was grateful for us because it was he could tell people to how to get to Good Shepherd by saying how to get to St. James first, and then because we're sort of on, I think we're kind of tucked away too, but it's a huge piece of land we have, right? Several blocks, and it's on 11th, which is kind of a main drag, I guess, has stop signs and stuff. So anyway, so last night it was sad because he couldn't be with us. He had another commitment, so I presided, and it was just me, but the highlight, of course, was the choir and joint choir and Christine. So Christine preached, proclaimed the gospel, and preached for us last night. It was very, very good. You know, she's just a really good speaker, a great thinker, and she talked about gratitude. Obviously, it was the 10 lepers and other. Ooh, hear the geese? They were all in the water, and they just decided to get up and squawk, flying south. So she talked about she really wants to have a heart of gratitude. I found that too. They sang a song last night, something about grant me a grateful heart, and I thought, yeah, a lot of people have grateful hearts, and I hope that they really feel like they're in sync with God, you know, because they have this grateful heart. And a lot of people, maybe like me, I was thinking, well, maybe I don't have such a grateful heart today. I think it ebbs and flows a little bit, but I could feel the desire to have that, you know. And then Christine's talk gave us some really nice pointers. She said she tried to form a habit of saying thank you, God, every morning when she wakes up. And she said sometimes she does and sometimes she doesn't. It's hard to find getting these habits. So maybe sometimes when we have to preach, we kind of teach ourselves, so maybe she'll have more success now that she's confessed that she only does it 50% of the time. But and she said, well, why don't I? And part of it is that I forget. And that's like, isn't that kind of like the 9 lepers that didn't say thank you? It's not like they were malicious. They kind of forgot. I think I heard a radio show on sin once, and they had an imam, a priest, a minister, and a rabbi. And the imam said that the word for sin in Arabic is the same word as one who forgets. Hear 'em? It's nice. And that's really one of the huge things. And then she went a little bit farther. She said, what keeps us from remembering more? And when we get just focusing on ourselves all the time, it's hard to have a grateful heart. And so what is key for her is to be aware, not just that I should be grateful, but that I'm connected to others. My life is connected to others, to God certainly, but also to other people, and that I'm dependent. And we don't like to feel like we're dependent, especially in our culture. I got everything I need. I can take care of myself, but I think she's right. Sometimes it's not cool to say dependent. You say interdependent because that sounds a little bit more like we have more agency. But I'd like the not the coldness, but the starkness of just saying, no, we're dependent on others. And because she said, in order to have a grateful heart, we have to be humble. We have to know we don't just make ourselves, and everything we have isn't just self-given, but we receive life. We receive so many other things. Love, support, and so to have that humility is a key, maybe first step before we have that heart of gratitude. I need others. I need God. So that can be hard because then we lose control, right? So I think that's. And I think original sin, sometimes I hear talks on original sin, or I studied it back in the day, and baptism takes away original sin, but it's this idea that maybe the original sin is just that we make ourselves the center of our universe, and we don't think we need God, we don't think we need others, and it's all about my whole life project is just providing security and pleasure for myself, and I wish I could say I'm far from that, but I think it's a pretty good temptation for a lot of us. My life's just about me, so that's a good thing. It's pretty key to what maybe salvation is. Baptism takes away original sin. Baptism, we die to an old self. That's just what's the word? That's just preoccupied with myself, and rise to a new self that lives generously for God, aware of my communion with God and others, and dependence on them and their dependence on me. It's a beautiful way to live. And maybe because gratitude, to get to a grateful heart, you got to kind of go through all those stages and become uncenter yourself. Maybe that's why Meister Eckhart, he was a German Rhineland mystic in the 1300s, I think. He said something along the lines is, if the only prayer you ever utter is thank you, that would be enough. Because I think it includes all this other stuff, this humility, my needs, So anyway, I appreciate Christine's words last night, and so did so many. She got a good reception. So we're ordering goods from the West Bank and from Jerusalem to sell during Advent, and the main player in that is the L'Arche community, people with the intellectual disabilities. They make these woolen Christmas crafts. And then there's a gift shop owner in Bethlehem and one in Jerusalem, and I wanted to be able to support them too. And they have different things to sell. And anyway, we got theirs. We didn't get the L'Arche stuff, and it's like I was so excited because it arrived in Memphis. It's by FedEx. FedEx is the Memphis hub. But every day for 8 days it says in process, Memphis, Tennessee. I'm like, what? So then I called FedEx, and they said, well, it says here that it won't be released immediately because of concern that it could be dangerous for the receiver. Well, I know it's not, but I guess that doesn't matter. So, and then they said, I said, do you think we'll get it? We want to sell these things before Christmas. And he said, he goes, I can't say either way, but it can take a good month typically. So we're already 10 days into that month. So I don't know, 3 more weeks, might get them just before Christmas, but that's too bad, right? A little frustrating. It's not as too bad as what everybody over there is experiencing. But anyway, that's the Parish angle on it. So we'll still, we took that collection, so we'll still be able to send them some money. And we have actually already, so they could ship it in the first place. So I'll continue to pray for peace. I'm so glad there's a ceasefire. I'm hoping it will, the Prime Minister of Israel said, yeah, there'll be a ceasefire, but it's going to pick up right away again with war. And I don't know, always hopeful, always pray for peace, and maybe a little glimmer. He seemed to have allied himself in order to be prime minister with all these I knew it. I mean, I was telling people something's going to happen between now and our pilgrimage in April, and because there's never been a more hostile government to Palestinians in the West Bank, and that's the big picture. A small picture is this terrorist attack, which is so horrendous on October 6th, and I get their need for self-defense, but I'm not surprised. They just don't want. And they've been on the record. They don't think Palestinians deserve to be there. So the extremists. It's always extremists that mess everything up, I think. And then Hamas is the extremist too. Israel doesn't have a right to be there. So hence all the tragedy. No sharing, no sense of connectedness. Anyway, so Puerto Rico. So Jackie and Chuck Miller they got our sister parish relationship going with San Jose and Luquillo, Puerto Rico on the northwestern shore. Beautiful place. I went there the first time we had a trip. I think we went in June. But anyway, she's going to be there with Chuck February 11th to the 29th. And if people want to join them the whole time or part of the time, they're going to be working on 2 new chapels, which I think means there's San Jose Luquillo in the main church. And then they have these satellite churches where Father Francis goes also for Sunday Mass. And it sounds like they built new ones or renovated the ones that were there. We said Mass. We celebrated Mass in all of those chapels. So anyway, there are a few people that were interested. Housing is always an issue. She said if you want to go, you should decide now because housing is tight. That's a high season because it's miserable and cold up here in February. But down there, it's like 80 degrees every day. So it could be pleasant on that score, but also pleasant because we're keeping our connections going with the people of San Jose Luquillo, who always say to us when we arrive, bienvenidos, welcome, and more geese. So Jackie would be and she has some, someone said that they didn't feel like they had any idea how to get a place. Well, Jackie said some links you can look into to try to find a place to stay when you're there, okay? So it's good. Okay, so cleaning, painting, small repairs, yard work. That's what our group would be doing down there. Recycle your old Christmas lights. Probably some of you will be putting up Christmas lights after Thanksgiving, and you can recycle them at church. It's a nice thing not to just throw in the landfill, right? Victor, our recycling king, noticed once that we were throwing out our Christmas lights, and he said, well, that's worth good money, bring those to the recycling center. So there you go. Good for the earth, good for the pocketbook, good for the recycling business. Our 75th anniversary. So, gosh, that's a week and a half ago, right? Yeah, time. So there's still a display of the history in the gathering space. Got a lot of lookers last night at the Thanksgiving service. That'll be up through this weekend, but then that's it. So if you want to check out the history display in the gathering space. Founded in 1948, it's a lot of great pictures. The heroes on whose shoulders we stand are sort of pictured there. I saw Sister Margaret Michaud last week. When I went up to St. John's Abbey, where I did the chat from last week, and I wanted to have dinner and evening prayer with the nuns like Sister Michaela, Sister Karen, Sister Judy, Sister Lucy, that stay at the main monastery there on the campus of St. Ben's. And they got COVID going through the house, so I couldn't go. But Margaret was rehabbing in a rehab unit, and it was her last night there before she went back to the nursing home where she lives. And she's just a great hero of the church. She smart and humble. And someone said before I went, I said I might see Sister Margaret, and they said, oh, she was the best teacher that I ever had. She could take these complicated ideas and talk to me in a way that I could understand them. So she just had a life like that. And she was a philosophy degree, a math degree, all this stuff, and scripture, I think, because she taught scripture. And when she was talking, she has some memory issues, right? So, but she was talking about what she missed most, and it wasn't like being the head of the monastery for 16 years or her time studying philosophy at Notre Dame. Or she said, I really liked teaching the Bible study group at the little parish next to our monastery. So I think maybe 10, 14 people would show up and they'd go through the Bible and she'd teach them. And she said, a lot of Catholics don't get into the Bible very easily, and they just ate it up, whatever I would teach them. They were just so excited, and so I think with that long list of impressive resume, just to kind of be remembering and repeating that it was that small Bible study group that she led that really seemed to give her the most fond memories, satisfaction in life. So, isn't that nice? Sorry books. Oh, songbooks. Songbooks, you can get them for free, the last year's songbooks. We're putting the new ones in. Any of the songbooks you find anywhere in church, you can take after the 10 o'clock Mass. But even right now, there's some songbooks on a table by the 11th Street entrance. I think that's a little vestibule before you go into church, so not the gathering space. Bunch of stacked books there, and you can take one. It's nice to have a songbook that's got songs that we sing in it. You can share it with your families or for yourself. It's got the Sunday readings would be a different cycle, but it's a lot of good stuff there, like the Easter rites and Good Friday, and that's the same every year, Anyway, sometimes people like to have a songbook. They ask me for them, and I usually say no because they want one of the current ones. I hate to be stingy, but we need them. But now we don't need these because the year's over. It's not Advent this weekend, though. Very often, it's Advent after Thanksgiving, right? It's Advent. First Sunday of Advent is always the Sunday closest to the Feast of St. Andrew, which is another way of saying it's always the day closest to November 30th. And so this year, Advent is as short as humanly possible. The fourth Sunday of Advent, the fourth week of Advent lasts about 3 hours before we have our Mass for Christmas Eve on 4th. So I guess it'll last 5 hours. So Christmas Eve is the fourth Sunday of Advent. So more on that later. Matthew 25. I just want to thank the gospel coming up this weekend is whatever you do to the least of my people, that you do unto me. And when I was hungry, you gave me food. When I was thirsty, you gave me to drink. And the sheep object. And they say, when did we, it's nice that we're going to enter eternal life, but we don't remember feeding you or giving you something to drink. And Jesus says, whenever you did it for one of these little ones, someone who needed it, you did it for me. So Father Klimek, that was his favorite passage. He'd often use it at funerals, which he did so many of for non-affiliated Catholics, and meaning Catholics that weren't members of a parish. Anyway, so we got to just have a lot of people that volunteer at Sojourner House, at Community Table, a lot of parishioners further that whenever there's like a need for gloves or hand warmers, we put out the call that the donations come fast and plenty. And so I'm really glad to be part of a parish that has a heart for the poor, and because it's pretty important, right? Yeah, the economically vulnerable in our world. Yeah. We'll have our Advent Reconciliation service at St. James on Thursday, December 7th at 6:30. Other priests from the deanery will come, hopefully, and help. The Crown. Anybody watch The Crown? So I like The Crown. It's about the royal family, mostly about Queen Elizabeth. And they released, I think, 4 episodes now, and they'll release the rest of the season in mid-December. But maybe it's because I've been a little weak physically, like since this food poisoning thing. But I mean, I was all tears this morning watching it. It was Princess Di when she died, and I don't know what causes us to cry. Sometimes it's a good love story. Sometimes, she's so beautiful, so you're kind of that's part of it too, I think. And misunderstood and did so much good in the world. the summer before she died, she really was wrapping up this world landmine awareness, and she loved her kids so much, and not always treated real well by the rest of the royal family, and so anyway, there's a lot. Anyway, I was really good, and what did she say? Oh, but I thought was really good. So after she died, people are trying to process their feelings, like Prince Charles, her ex-husband, and Queen Elizabeth. And I liked the way it was directed. So they'd be sitting alone, thinking and grieving, going through complex emotions, and then she would appear, like across the table. And very serene, very peaceful, which is how I imagine people when they get to the other side. It's like they've encountered the mercy of God. They have a wisdom that we don't know. And she just kind of heard their reactions and had some other ideas about how they might interpret things. And I thought it was really beautifully done. So, yeah, if you got Netflix, it's on Netflix. And she died in 1997, I guess. Then the Dodie, she had this boyfriend. I think they were always, Dodie's father wanted to make it like they were engaged to be married, and I don't know if probably anyone would know for sure, but the show certainly made it think that not, But they were companions for that summer and traveled around a lot. Anyway, the background story is too much to get into, and I don't think I'd get it right anyway. But Dodie died in the crash too, the car crash. And so his father is grieving, and then Dodie appears to his father when he's thinking through all this stuff. And the father said, "You are the perfect son, you're the perfect son." But he never felt like he could measure up to his father's expectations all his life. And I liked, there's one line that Dodie said. He said, "I wasn't perfect." He said, "Be honest about who I was, because wounds will only heal with the truth." Be honest about who I was, for wounds will only heal with the truth. Isn't that good? As we go through our wounded heart and our issues, not to paint an unnecessarily positive view of past events, but to be honest, and then maybe we can heal. Yeah. So I think that's all I got. I'm getting kind of worn out. I'm gonna go back to bed. Sun's gonna set pretty soon. I can give you a little bit of a panorama here, maybe. Well, baby, my little. There we go. There's the sun setting over that direction. There's all the summer fun, those trees with the ropes people jump off of. So, God bless you, everybody. I hope our desire, I think it's a common desire, to have grateful hearts will happen in all of our lives in a little measure this weekend, and we can build on that. Okay? God bless you all.